Welcome to our webinar on marketing your digital content. It's a big question that we've had with a lot of our organisers that we're working with Ticketco TV. There is a unique difference towards normal events versus streamed events. But just a quick intro for Ticketco, in case you haven't worked with us or met with us before. Our vision is to create a global standard for all events payments. And upon that journey with the new COVID crisis that's happened, we've quickly moved to develop Ticketco TV. In all of our development, they're built on three key values, which is, to be honest, engaged and innovative. And we will, sorry, there we go, innovative. And if we're just going to go through who we are, what you're going to learn during this webinar, and we've got David from Pragmatic to give you some more info on his experience. So who we are, I'm Joe Edwards, Key Account Manager at Ticketco in the UK. Obviously, I'm not from a massively marketing background, so we've got Anders, who's our Digital Marketing Manager, as a co-host. So he'll be available in the chat throughout the webinar for any questions that you have in terms of digitally marketing or through Ticketco TV. And the reason we're here, I think it's pretty obvious, but with the uncertainty growing in the industry on when things will return to the new normal, more and more organisers are hosting pay-per-view or live stream events, as well as using video on demand to monetize their existing content with Ticketco TV. Online events are a great way to engage with your audience, but a popular question amongst our partners has been, how do I market my digital content? So luckily, we've got David from Pragmatic with us today. He's going to share some of his experience on how to market your digital content.
Great. Thanks, Joe. So, yeah, I'm David Lockie. I run Pragmatic. We're a digital agency. People are struggling with audio. You can hear now. Okay, that's cool. So yeah, we're a digital agency based down on the south coast of the UK in Brighton, and we specialize in WordPress, which is the world's most popular content management system. And one of its primary uses is for content marketing. So I am passionate about WordPress and also technology in general, and I get excited about kind of futurism a little bit as well, so near-term futurism. So just to kind of manage expectations, this talk isn't a practical guide to PPC or SEO, nor is it necessarily like kind of direct insights into how to drive people to watch your webinar. What I want to do is to inspire you to think about what lies beneath the marketing. What are the current trends that are changing people's behaviors? What opportunities do those create? And what does success look like in the kind of now and next world? And that answer will be different for each of you, but I think, and I hope that some of the principles we'll talk about will apply to all of you. So a bit of housekeeping. I'm going to talk for 15 or 20 minutes, depending how quickly, how carried away, I guess, I get. And I'll be around to do a bit of Q&A afterwards. And I'm always available on Twitter for Q&A as well. And if anyone wants the slides afterwards, I'll happily share them. So COVID-19 has forced many of us to change the services we offer and how we acquire customers. But as my friend Grant Leboeuf at Sticky Marketing says, actually, it changes nothing, but accelerates everything. So COVID's really just injected a lot of pace into some of these trends that were happening. So what were these trends, and you know, how does that help us understand what's happening now? Well, the obvious one here is that everything has been becoming digital pretty quickly, all experiences and some of the most important ones in our lives. Everything from dating to e-commerce. So here we can see that the last, well, the 8 weeks over March and April, basically were equivalent to the last 10 years of e-commerce growth in the US. So this is massively disrupting the high street. And even in the UK, we think that the shift to e-commerce represents an estimated £12 billion shift in a matter of months. So it's a massive disruption to the market. And I reckon pretty much anywhere there's a digital service, you'll see an adoption graph that looks pretty much like this one. It's also changing the way that people interact with brands, the way that brands interact with people. So these are kind of direct-to-consumer brands, and even bigger brands like Heinz and PepsiCo are now experimenting with direct-to-consumer like they never have before, seeing this, I guess, as an opportunity to add their add a channel, build direct relationships with their customers, generate some first-party data, and potentially give themselves a better negotiating position when it comes to supermarkets like supply chains and stuff. So really interesting to see that develop even from kind of incumbent brands. Of course, digital is also disrupting healthcare, what we can know about ourselves, what others can know about us, and there's been some incredible stories of Apple Watches saving people's lives already. Education, I think, for anyone that's got kids, this kind of home schooling, or at least kind of home childcaring, has raised all sorts of questions about education. My stepson's up in university, and certainly there are questions there about the future for universities when there's an internet at one's disposal. How do universities react when they can't have pupils on campus? And even sports. So this is an esports arena, and of course, people have chosen to come here to an offline event to watch an online sport. But there's no reason, and in fact, I'm sure there are like millions of other people watching from home as well. So digital has really been disrupting almost everything that we do and enjoy anyway, and COVID's accelerated that. I think one key trend that we're going to see really accelerating now is artificial intelligence, and that is partly because AI can work even if people are sick, and I think that's ultimately going to be something that drives makes adoption of AI technologies attractive for big business, and AI is going to change the way that we market forever. So here's an example. It's at this marketing blog doesnotexist.com, which is a demonstration of an entirely automated marketing blog. It uses natural language generation to generate blog posts. I think it's got tens of thousands of blog posts now. It runs on WordPress, so it's essentially a machine generating content, much as any person would. We already can find examples of AI content generation out in the wild, particularly where it's low value or high value, low latency content. So sports and financial systems are really good examples of that. Dreamwriter, which is a 10-cent technology, can basically write and publish a blog post of a talk by the time that you sit down from delivering it, and that can include snippets of video, screenshots, etc. Even back in 2017, Washington Post's robot reporter called Heliograph published 850 stories alone. So it doesn't need to be content generation. Microsoft recently fired, I think, 27 journalists and editors, and the homepage of MSN.com is now curated by AI. So it's going to be disruptive, but it also frees people up to spend time on things that are truly creative rather than kind of mundane or routine. And it's not just creation of text. This is one of my favorite AI technologies. This is a visual generative adversarial network. And it's basically two AIs, one that tries to make frogs and then another that judges how successful it was. And obviously, this wasn't a particularly successful generation of a frog, but the technology is remarkably evolved. This is a funny example rather than illustrative of the state of the art. So this is a person that doesn't exist, and you can go to thispersondoesnotexist.com and generate infinite numbers of people whose faces don't exist but are utterly compelling. And I think it's really interesting to imagine that you can write a piece of content and your AI copilot is going to automatically create or suggest images for it. So it's entirely feasible that as AI content AIs evolve in their capability, they'll be able to transform on the fly the content that you're producing into whatever format suits your audience at that particular time. So, for example, you might write a blog post, but some people are experiencing it as a podcast, some are experiencing it as an animated video, some are seeing it on social media, but really that kind of routine of chopping it up and reformatting it is taken off people, and they come up with the creative ideas, and the AIs then translate those for what's most suitable for each individual person. So really interesting what AI is going to be able to do with content and with marketing. And it's also like another technology that is definitely trending is AR. So it's not just how content is created and curated, but it's going to be entirely new formats and digital experiences as well. So if we can imagine, so this is an example of a smart mirror. So this is just a lady at a conference, a real world conference, if you can remember when they happened. And if it starts playing, we should see that it changes her hair color on the fly. So this is a way of letting people experience your product. So for example, this might be a smart mirror that is run by a hair dye business, or you could easily imagine that she's choosing accessories or clothes, and instead of having to imagine whether that hair color suits her or imagine if that accessory suits her, she can actually experience that and feel like she understands what that value proposition is. And it might feel distant from what you do as a business, but marketing is all about creating trust. So what is your equivalent of this smart mirror? How can you build a trusting relationship with prospects by letting them experience what a relationship with you would be like, rather than just imagining it? And how about your products themselves? Can you personalize your products and repackage them in new ways? So could you generate a personalized concert in VR stitched together for a single person's individual music taste from your entire backlog, maybe even compared by like a deep fake presenter who is reading a script that's been generated by the AI based on the content that it's presenting? How about a virtual executive suite at a football match where you and your mates can hang out in a virtual room? Facebook are doing a lot of investment in their VR world. Apple have reportedly been working on AR glasses for a long time. I think as soon as there is a wearable way for people to experience AR, then there's going to be a whole new, just a whole new paradigm to what marketing and content experiences look like. And then, of course, there's gaming as well, so Fortnite and Minecraft. And we have to think about not just our own generation, but the way that the generations that are behind us choose to experience content. And essentially, this is what it comes down to. So automated AI-powered experiences will allow personalization at scale. And I've alluded to what a few of these things look like, but what does that mean for you as a business? So a lot of ticketed businesses, I guess, before COVID were stuck to some degree or another in a sort of transaction paradigm, whereas a lot of publishing, a lot of SaaS, a lot of online businesses were seeing a real boom in the subscription economy. But even getting from transaction to subscription can be a big leap. How do you persuade somebody to buy a subscription to attend an event that happens once a year? And here's where COVID has really provided the necessity that is the mother of all invention. So now the question is, what is our value proposition if we can't put on an event that happens once a year? So if you're a music festival and you can't do that one event a year, how do you offer value to those customers? How do you still have a business proposition? And as you're thinking about that, there will be an answer. Like, what are the reasons that people attend a sporting event or a music festival? Because they love the experience of the live action or the live music. They love catching up with friends, and maybe more powerfully than anything, they attend for a sense of identity and belonging, identification with a group. So how can your brand or event provide food for these passions and needs without a physical event? And if you can answer that, you can start to imagine what a value proposition looks like, but also what a subscription service might look like. And beyond that, you can imagine a more intimate relationship where you truly understand each customer and their subtle preferences and their particular situation at any given time, and you can adjust your product in a dynamic way to suit them. It's really a paradigm shift in thinking about relationships with customers. So people want one-to-one. They want to take it as they want, multiple screens, whatever grabs my attention. I don't care about what you've got. I care about what I want. And I don't want to be expected to go through these steps. I want to be entertained and delighted and taken on this journey. So we're really seeing like a shift in the way that marketers need to think about from a funnel to an experience, and that's very much an empathic shift as much as anything else. And so what I think all this really adds up to is that people from all kinds of generations are looking to you for a sense of belonging, a sense of identity. And this is why we see the age of the influencer, Kylie Jenner, PewDiePie, Taylor Swift. It's the growing power of the personal brand and of influencers. People are pre-programmed, like it's our biology to relate better to each other, to other people than to brands. And with the web, individuals can spend time with their favorite influencers in very intimate ways and build really quite rich relationships with them. And that audience, that mass audience, which of course can be personalized so that people really are getting a personal experience of that relationship. It becomes a platform on which you can build pretty much any business. The audience to some degree is the product. Kylie Jenner chose makeup. Kanye's chosen the shoe partnership. But once you have an audience, the opportunities to monetize are endless, and that of course will still include ticketed events, whether that's online or offline. And just to kind of emphasize this generational gap, so I don't know how many people here have heard about Twitch. Twitch is a streaming platform where people can follow individuals. Got bought by Amazon a while back, and it's just grown massively. So it's typically used to follow like gamers or coders. And this is raw production. There is very little in the way of production values. It's not like glossy Netflix or Hollywood stuff. It's just a person and a webcam and a microphone. And it's that intimate connection that people are looking for more and more, especially young people. And this is another illustration of this. This is YouTube versus Netflix and pay TV. And you can see that Netflix just continues to climb and climb. And part of the reason for that is that it lets people be entertained on their own terms, on whatever screen they happen to be in front of. So imagine like even streaming services like Netflix just aren't flexible. They'd rather just navigate around, flick through that video, get distracted by that. They want to kind of be taken on a journey, but also to have some sense of control over it. So who's getting it right with marketing in this like next gen world? Let's look beyond digital events to some of the world's most effective marketing organizations and see if we can kind of unravel their DNA. One of my favorites is Red Bull. I kind of love the story of going from a sugary caffeinated drink to sponsoring a guy who jumps from the edge of space and does the world's biggest ever free fall. And their purpose really, I guess, it connects sugary caffeinated drinks and extreme sports is the purpose of pushing the limits of human achievement. So whether that's just letting you stay up an hour later and stay alert, or whether it's sponsoring athletes to be able to do things that have never been done before. It's a singular purpose, and around that they've built a massive community. And Tesla's a really good example of this as well. So we think of Tesla as a product business, but all of the media thinking they do, they're sending a car to space, the huge kind of Apple-esque launch moments. They have a very clear purpose, and that is like cleaner personal transportation, electrification of our vehicle fleets. The way that they've done that is to create this sexy product and an incredible marketing machine, but it's also a very, very clear purpose. And, if I've got any respect for Trump, it's the fact that he does have a very singular purpose, and he's built an exceptionally effective marketing machine around that. His purpose, I would say, is like a regressive one of playing on the anger and fears and frustrations of the disenfranchised, but it's an extremely effective marketing machine nevertheless. So when we think about those three brands or organizations or persona, what is the DNA that sits underneath them? Well, I'd say that they all act as hybrid organizations. So right at the top, they've got a very clear purpose and vision. It's a human value at scale, a higher goal, if you like. Underneath that, they all have an economic engine, a way to generate resources. So it could be products and services, it could be campaign contributions, but there has to be a way of generating those resources. Thirdly, is this like psychological in-group, out-group sort of mentality, like ways for people to feel like that they can belong and connect. So this could be private social networks, it could be exclusive content, exclusive events, it could be brand associations and tie-ups. It's MAGA hats. These are ways for your customers to feel like they belong, that they've got that relationship there. But around them then is a kind of community of interest. So if you imagine like a concentric circle outside of your customers, and these are people who align to your stack, your purpose, your vision. They're not necessarily customers yet, but they could be prospects, they could be advocates, they can identify with your brand, or identify as not wanting to be anything to do with your brand. And actually that, it's more important that there's a very clear way for people to feel about your brand, whether they opt in or opt out. That's almost more important than anything else. And then below that is the ability to kind of reach, entertain, and engage the world beyond. So the entire addressable market. And all of those brands have this incredible communications engine that can produce content and get it in front of people. So these organizations, they're not product or services businesses, nor are they communities or social networks or media organizations, but a combination of all of these things aligned towards clear purpose that people can choose to belong to or not to belong to. And tools like WordPress and TicketGo TV are powerful ways to engage people with your content and purpose, but really they work best when they form a piece of a more compelling puzzle. So they have to fit within this broader scope of things. And I guess one message from here is that this kind of in and out group psychology, it's one of our rawest human traits. Way back to when we were a tribe, is that a stranger or is that a friend? Don't underestimate the power of that, and make sure that you're using that with your marketing. And I guess just to leave you with this, nearly everyone is connected now. Out of 5.5 billion adults, 4 billion have a smartphone. One of my friend's favorite sayings is every village had an idiot, and it took the internet to bring them together. What's true of idiots is also true of your customers, your people, your community, your purpose, and your vision. And we've seen some incredible brands grow out of niches that could never have been sustainable before the internet, but now there are millions of customers worldwide. So what is your purpose as an organization? How can you charge people for that? Not just with offline and online events, but also memberships or any number of different ways of diversifying that revenue to build out a deeper engagement model than just events. And that's going to support you even when the world reopens and offline events happen. Wouldn't it be nice to have like a recurring revenue and audience platform on which to base these offline events and make them even more powerful? So what can you offer your customers? So yeah, a quick thank you to everyone for coming along, and to TicketCo for having me aboard. I hope it's been interesting, and yeah, really happy to answer any questions.
For David, please feel free to fire away. The chat will remain open, but we are going to stop the webinar now. But please feel free to ask any questions in the chat or reach out to us with anything. Obviously, we're more than happy to help with the planning of your online events. So, David, thanks so much. I think everyone enjoyed the webinar. It was really insightful, and it's good to get from a TicketCo point of view, get a third-party look at the industry from another point of view as well. So, no, really, really interesting. Thanks for coming on.